Thank you for staying with us. Across the world, Professor Wole Soyinka is known to be an activist who expressed himself through literary artworks and even received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1986. Now he is 90 years old, and President Bola Tinubu has renamed the National Arts Theatre in Igomu, Lagos, after him. According to the president, Soyinka is one Nigerian whose influence transcends the country's space and who inspires people around the world, explaining that since his youth, he has been a vocal critic of oppression and injustice wherever it exists, from apartheid in South Africa to racism in the United States. He's truly a force to reckon with. We have columnist, essayist Sam Omashe in the studio to further discuss how impactful this recent development will be for Nigeria as a country. Thank you for joining us. It's good to see you again, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here.
Well, it was a rain of tributes for Wole Soyinka over the weekend as he clocked 90 years. And there are those who say that the focus was more about his earthly accomplishments as against the number of years he spent on earth, so to speak. But for you, what really or how significant is this celebration for?
Well, Soyinka is what they call an avatar. An avatar is not just a great man, is an extraordinarily great man. That's what they call an avatar. We have few of them living today. And you always have few of them living at any time, at any epoch. Soyinka is one of them. Soyinka's life is, in many respects, not in one. You can call him a writer, you can call him a dramatist, you can call him a mythopoeist, you can call him a composer, you can call him a novelist, you can call him a human rights fighter, you can call him an internationalist, you can call him a humanist, you can call him a poet. And in all of this is like what somebody described Leonardo da Vinci. He said, he's a universal man of the Renaissance, a veritable master, a jack of all trade, a master of many. So that's what Soyinka is. And you see him in various aspects. He has a protean, what they call a protean talent, and protean engagement throughout his life, which means that if you go there, you see him there. You go there, you see him. That they say, if you go there, you stay there. If you come out there, you stay there. He's a man who, within a span of 9 decades, has accomplished so much. And at the age of 90, is reeling out a new play. Yes. You know, who knows? It could even be his best play, because Goethe, the German playwright, wrote his best play first at the age of 80. That's the best. That, you know, there are other things that is remembered for Goethe, but when you mention him, the best thing you say about him is his play first, written at the age of 80.
Interesting.
And so this opportunity also provides us with the need to also address some issues, what he represents basically, and his impact or effect on the youth. You know that Prof has been quite active on social media in recent times, and to an extent, I will say he has been misunderstood due to the use of some of his terms and also words. Does this not speak to the fact that we are losing our literacy culture, our hold on, culture, tradition? Sometimes when you see some of the youth respond online based on the misunderstanding of what the Prof has said.
It's a contest between the Indomie generation and the indomitable spirit. That is what we see here. These youths who talk about Soyinka, what do they know about the history of Nigeria? What do they know about Soyinka? What do they know about him? Nothing. They have not read anything. If you ask them, have you read Death and the King's Horseman? So they said they don't know. They say he doesn't deserve the Nobel Prize. Have they read the death of the King's Husband?
The Trials of Brother Jero.
Trials of Brother Jero. Forget Trials of Brother Jero. Some of his lower place.
Yes.
Have they read the play of giants that twisted, that made a spoof of African political decadence and tyrannical depredations? Have they read Death and the King's Husband, which looked at a clash of culture? Although Soyinka doesn't want to see it as a clash of culture, but it's also a story that talks of generational conflict. Have they read Ake? Have they read the play of giants? Have they read Dance of the Forest? You can go on and list on and on and on. I wrote once that if you split Soyinka's the offerings into two and give them to two human beings, those two human beings will be deserving of the Nobel Prize. I don't know that. Do they know what happened during the Civil War? That this same Soyinka, that some of them, especially those who they call obedience, are attacking, that he was the one who wanted to stop the war. He single-handedly traveled across to Biafra because he wanted to stop the war. In fact, a senior military officer told me that when, in the early days of the crisis, instruction was given that anybody that they saw along the express coming from the east should be arrested or killed, except Wole Soyinka, because they knew he was going to come back. He drove on his own there. He saw Okigbo. If you read this book, You Must Set Forth at Dawn, many of these Indo-Mid generation people, they have not even read, they don't even know the book, in which he said he met Okigbo there, and Okigbo saw him. Okigbo was going to get ammunition at a particular spot, and he saw him and he yelled, and that was the last time he saw him. They should understand what is going on. They should understand that. This man fought during the time of the Civil War. He fought for unity, and he could have lost his life. They could have shot him and got to go with him. He fought for democracy. Abacha was looking for him all over the country. Some of them were just toddlers that time.
Right.
When Abacha was looking for him all over the world.
It's important that we have these kinds of conversations because over the weekend there were symposiums, to talk about all of the things that he did, and these were some of the concerns raised when the conversations were going on about the fact that there's a dearth. When you talk about the reading culture, how some persons are no longer deep thinkers, like we have in Wole Soyinka as it is, and so there are concerns that are we going to have more Wole Soyinkas? Are we going to have those kinds of people who are deep thinkers who can express themselves and address issues with their writings?
We will. Every generation throws up their own people. My own disappointment with some of these youths is that they're encouraged by people who are supposed to be enlightened, but who are locked up in ethnic enclaves, and because of that, they forget to see beyond the moment. There are people who read and did dissertations on Wole Soyinka, who studied his place in school. But because of the pressures of parochial politics, have decided to lend their voice to this nonsense that is going on in the country.
But often the time we talk about how it's important that we immortalize people like this, and we saw what the president did. And we also see how people have been reacting to the decision of the president to name the National Theatre after him. Let's get your perception and perspective to this decision.
Naming the National Theatre after Soyinka is one of the most significant decisions that we have made for culture and for producers of culture in this country. Soyinka got his greatest accolade in the world for theater. As I said in my column today, is not only an inspiration, but it's also an act for the theater. That's Soyinka himself, in one soul. Soyinka writes plays. Soyinka performs. Soyinka directs. And Soyinka also sings. He composes songs and he also performs and did all of that. Where do you get all of that in one place? It is in the theater. What is the most iconic theater in Nigeria? It is the National Theater.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a no-brainer that Soyinka should get that thing named after him. If he has performed, there are so many of these plays I've talked about, it, Death and the King's Horseman, A Play of Giants, Bacchae for Euripides. You can keep naming them. Dance of the Forest, the Jero plays you said, which some people say is a slight play, but it's very beautiful satire, especially for times like this where you have a lot of religious chicanery that has gone abroad. You see that the man has done that. He has performed plays all over the world. Performed in the UK, in the US, in fact, there was one time before he won the Nobel Prize, A Play of Giants was staged in Yale or Harvard, and one New York Times reporter, he was wondering whether the audience really understood the deep implication of that play.
Mm.
And he was saying that the play should have been directed better than it was directed because of the great nuance of that play. I remember reading it very well and recalling that Funsho Alabi, who was one of Soyinka's students at Ife, told me about Soyinka. He said, Soyinka is good at everything, but the area he's not very good at is as a director. Mm. But I saw him play Soyinka's other play, which some people have not heard of, Requiem for the Futurologist, which this man actually acted, the Funsho Alabi acted. I said, you acted very well in that play. Who directed it? Said Soyinka. So you can see this is part of what we are talking about.
Kind of movies that we have. You mentioned that he's involved in poetry, drama, and all sorts. But when you look at what we look at today, what children and the Indomie generation, like you mentioned, watch even on their screens, you will see that to an extent this may have had effect on even the way they think and their perception of major things in the society.
I think it is lack of patient reading that is the problem of this Indomie generation I'm talking about. They read 2-paragraph material, they read 5-paragraph material, they don't have any reflection. You are on the phone 24 hours of the day reading two sentences, 2-minute skits, and so on. You don't have time to reflect. That is part of the problem of this generation. But they should learn. They should learn that even this same generation in other societies, Western societies, are doing big things. And they should not be left behind. They should not be left behind. And a lot of responsibility also lies on role modeling. Role modeling has become very, very fraught in Nigeria. We don't, the kind of role models people look up to are those people who dance, who twerk, who do all kinds of things that have no profound impact on society. That is a matter that has continued to recur with us.
Now, let's come to you now, how perhaps Wole Soyinka's life has impacted your writing. You write as well.
Yes.
You also are into the world of arts. How much impact has he had on you?
Well, I would say a lot, but it's difficult to say how much impact. What Soyinka has had for me is to really inspire me more than anything else. Because when I was young, one of the early things I read was poetry. When I was in Government College, I read his poetry. We didn't read his drama. I came to read his drama after I left secondary school. I read the Jero plays, I became fascinated. Then I said I wanted to challenge myself. They said there's one book that Soyinka read that was so difficult to understand. That was The Man Died. And when I read it, it didn't look that difficult. So I said, why are people making noise about this? I went into it believing that I would hold a dictionary by my side and I would spend so many hours trying to plow through sentence after sentence, but I found it very, very interesting, very engaging. And it inspired me to, in the sense that it told me that, his writing told me that there's no limit to how you can express yourself. Nobody should restrict you. When you're going out to school, they say, this is how you should write a sentence. You can write a sentence in a different way, and so on. When I read him, and I read other writers, especially Joseph Conrad, I discovered that you have to be free with your expression. How you say a thing depends on how it comes to you. And Soyinka was very important in that regard. And when we were in Ife, we studied a lot of his works, and what they call it, Swamp Dwellers. That was one of his plays we read. I watched his Requiem for a Futurologist. I saw a lot of his plays on stage in the theater arts, they call it Dramatic Arts Department in Ife. And I read that we debated him a lot, and we had lecturers who understood him and made us understand Soyinka more. There was also this question about Soyinka's obscurity that is difficult to understand. And I think it is intellectual indolence that happens, and people should just sit down and read the context, the cultural context. Stanley Makebo of blessed memory, he wrote an essay in those days where he said to understand Soyinka, you should understand the Yoruba culture, and you understand where it's coming from. It will not be too difficult for you to understand. There was one expression that people used one time, they don't use it again. Say, I had a rapid dialogue with my feet. In other words, in Yoruba, he said, Moba said me sorry. In other words, I ran quickly, I ran fast immediately. Expression like, you must set forth at dawn. I wish you marvelous of the holy hour. It was also a kind of transliteration of Yoruba expression. So you have to understand that the man is deep in his culture, and even is able to also, while going to the interstices of the Yoruba culture, was able to blend it and modernize it. That's one of the things that the Nobel citation was impressed with. So Soyinka, to a great extent, influenced me, influenced so many people of my generation who read him, and will keep reading him. I still read him.
Which of his works stands out for you?
For me, it's The Dance of the Forest and Ake. Those two are my best works. My best one. The Dance of the Forest is his independence play. It was the first play that was mentioned in the Nobel citation. That's The Dance of the Forest. He wrote it for Nigerian independence. It's about anticlimax. You have all of these people who believe that something was going to happen and then nothing happens. And in a sense, it reminds me of an absurdist play by Samuel Beckett, Waiting for the Godot. Yeah, but Soyinka's one is more vast, is more characters and so on. So that one did a lot to me. Ake was a novel. It was a novel. They call that autofiction these days, where you blend your own personal experience with your fiction and bring them together. Yeah, so that one had a great impact. It was a story of his childhood. They talked about his mother, wild Christian, his father, his introduction into life, and so on. Very wonderful. I think everybody should go and read Ake. In fact, I believe that it was his publication of Ake that opened the world to say, wow, let me see what other things this man has written. Yeah. Yes, he did that. And then for play, it's Ogun Abibiman. It's about South Africa and so on. Yeah.
And since, to an extent, you resonate with his writings and his values, maybe we are looking at the next Wole Soyinka.
Nobel laureate.
So how do you intend to pass this on? You know, the prof has been able to, influence your own writing. What are you doing to pass this on to the next generation, the incoming generation, which may seem a bit more difficult to influence?
We'll keep writing. We keep writing and keep evangelizing the fact that the country is a project. It's not an individual or a sectional project. The country belongs to all of us. We are a consciousness, we are a temperament, we are a vision, we are a future. So we need to understand that. And to do that, we need to keep flogging. You keep fighting until we're able to get some around. And then you see, the most vocal ones are not necessarily representative of the majority. That's the terrible thing about these things.
Absolutely.
There are some very noisy people, and they keep engaged in this cacophony, and you think that they represent everybody. They are very brilliant young people of that generation, but they are not Indomie generation. They are indomitable.
I like that. So would you think that perhaps in schools, schools should look at going back to some of his works? Because I know those years, a lot of Wole Soyinka's works were in schools, were part of the curriculum as it is. Yes. Should we now look at revisiting that for schools?
It's something that should be done all the time. It's something that should be done all the time. Soyinka's works are supposed to be monuments of the culture. Each work is a monument of his culture. People say that our monuments are in our stories.
Yes.
And the stories are what Soyinka has told us in many ways, in many fashions, in many languages. I mean languages, not language in terms of English language or anything, but in many phrases and many textures. He has told us those stories, and he has told us in a way that we can understand it, in which we can relate to it, in which we can reflect on it, in ways that we can turn a theory into praxis. He has done that. He has done that. He has written many essays. In fact, was it not Times of London, Financial Times characterized his essays as thunderous. So he has done a lot of that. And some of these people try to compare Soyinka and Achebe, and then they say Soyinka cannot stand beside Achebe. What nonsense. So they say because of that, Soyinka does not deserve a Nobel Prize. Which is complete nonsense. Do they know what these people? They've only read Things Fall Apart. They've not read. The Things Fall Apart is his most popular work, but Things Fall Apart is not Achebe's best work. It is Arrow of God. Even Achebe himself even said so, that Arrow of God. If you want to catch me reading any of my books, you are likely to catch me reading Arrow of God. Not Things Fall Apart. Things Fall Apart is a good book. There's no doubt about that. Even if it deserves a Nobel Prize, doesn't mean that Soyinka does not deserve a Nobel Prize. I think it's just a sort. It's envy, and when you are on top, you're always the topic.
And that's a fine place to live.
Yeah.
The usual Sam Omashe, columnist, essayist. Thank you so much for your time on the program.